You don't fit in with your own friends, but you don't have the outcomes yet to fit into a new group of friends. And you're doing this thing, you're consuming content on the internet. Is this even worth it? Because you have no signs of success, right? But if there's anything that you can take away from what we're saying right now, is that the sign of success is the hate that you get along the way.
When you're on your way up, everyone roots for you because you remind them of their dreams. When you're at the top, everyone tears you down because you remind them that they gave up on them. And you have one, which is, for anyone who needs a reminder, no one is going to hate on you for doing worse than them. And this is interesting because kind of like the challenges you face in the beginning, you don't have anything to say no to, therefore the woman in the red dress is easy to say no to, or there are fewer women.
Yeah.
This is a challenge that nobody is going to give you any sympathy for.
Yeah.
It's a very unique category of challenge because the total addressable market for sympathy is basically zero. Because almost everybody is on their way up and very few people are at the top, and the people that are at the top are seen as having a degree of privilege that almost legitimates you twisting the knife or you poking the finger. This is how public figures can have normal everyday people on Twitter say unspeakable, like heinous things to them, dehumanizing things, because they do not see them as human. Right. They don't see them as a person. There is no person on the other side of this. They're a representation. They're a menagerie of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I can say whatever I want to them because they're not really a person, but they are. And the fact that before there is any status associated with tearing you down, no one is incentivized to tear you down. And you haven't changed. Dude, the Lewis Capaldi documentary, I've watched this twice now. No, Lewis Capaldi is the singer, Scottish singer, amazing dude. Really fascinating story. Suffering a lot with mental health. Makes this first album and billions of streams, world tour, phenomenal. And he's playing songs that he wrote in 2017 and played in working men's pubs around Scotland. The same songs go to number one. So not just that he's become better, he's the same guy.
Yeah.
The same guy. Maybe his production's improved, maybe his recording quality's improved, he's got better mastering and his voice coaching's got a bit better, but he's largely the same person. He hasn't changed. And he has this quote halfway through and it really spoke to me, and he said, "Fame doesn't change you, it just changes everybody around you."
Yeah.
And that, when you're on your way up, everyone roots for you because you remind them of their dreams. When you're at the top, everyone tears you down because you remind them that they gave up on them. That really, that spoke to me.
I wrote an essay on this because I'm a
psychopath.
Yeah. Yep. When I was a gym owner. So a lot of people don't know this, but I got a writing scholarship in college. Like I was a vice president of the newspaper. I was editor of the creative writing magazine. So like I've been writing for a long time. I enjoy writing. And I wrote this essay. I said, I think the title of it was, "Everyone believes in the American dream until it comes true." And I remember because what had happened was everybody, when I was sleeping on the gym floor, right? Like, I was the underdog, and everyone, my clients were all like, "Oh, good for you. You're going after your dream." And they'd see my blanket and my pillow in the corner of the gym, and they knew I was sleeping there. And it was evident, I lived there. I didn't have a shower. I didn't have a shower to go to the YMCA to go shower. And that everybody was like pro me. And then people would come in, they sign up like, I'm gonna support you, right? And then within 9 months, I had hired people and I had a manager, and I pulled up, and I remember I walked in the lobby, and all the same people were like, "Ah, boss man's here. Oh, you're not too good for us now, right?" And I remember being so jarred by the experience, and I was like, "You guys rooted for me," and I was like, "And now I did what you said you were rooting for me to do," and that was when I realized that people want you to do well, but not better than them. And I was like, I had gone from underdog to the man. And I was like, when does that happen? And the litmus test of when it happens depends on who the person is. Because for the person who was working at my gym, who, was a janitor or a cleaner, it happened really quick, right? For the people who were more successful, it took longer. And then, the only people at the end who would still root for me were the business owners who were doing way better than me, right? Who were still members of my gym. And so that was a really interesting experience that happened when I was 23. And that was the first time I went from underdog to the person that someone would want to attack. But I had a performance coach tell me this. He said, hatred isn't something you avoid. He said, it is a requisite for success. He said, if you get no hate, you are not successful. And for some reason, that just like really stuck with me, because then it just like, rather than it being this thing that I was trying to avoid, it actually became a leading indicator, or an indicator that I was on the right path in achieving things. And so I think that's why, I mean, I don't want to toot horns or anything. But in terms of like my ability to deal with the naysayers and things like that, I feel like I'm pretty good at it. Like, it doesn't really bug me very much. And I think in large part, it was because of how it's framed, at least how, in this discussion, how it was framed for me early on, which is that no one hates you from above. And even when I think back about like the bullies and whatnot that you had earlier, like even in middle school, like there were things that I had that were going for me that I couldn't recognize, because of course everything that comes easy to you are things that they're easy to you. So you don't think that they're, new or interesting or cool. But like at the same time, I was like, I'd advanced a grade in multiple subjects. I had, straight A's. I worked really hard. I was in shape, right? But I had these people who would hate. But I you internalize it. But like now I can look back and be like, it's kind of like the parents who are like, it's because she's into you, right? Now it might not be the same that way, but just thinking about it as an indicator that the hate is actually the light that you're on the right path.
We spoke about this last time, that nothing is going to be worthwhile that doesn't come with an associated amount of discomfort. Therefore, when you start to feel friends around you and the people that you used to be able to speak a common language with start to push back and start to make the quips of, oh, not drinking tonight, yeah? Oh, you must be too cool for us now. I know it hurts. That is the lead indicator, not even the lagging indicator. That is the lead indicator that you are doing the right thing. And lots of people listen to this podcast. I get messages from people like, hey man, I'm a 22-year-old rugby player from the northwest of the UK. I live in Cumbria. Yeah. None of my friends understand me. I want to do personal growth. I don't want to live in the UK. And when I listen to Modern Wisdom, I feel less alone. And it makes me tear up, because I'm like I see me in that person. I see me in that. And it's so hard to reframe it. The pushback you are getting is the indicator that you are doing the right thing. It is. And if you can reframe the distaste that you get from other people as the same as that.
Because they're projecting the things that they know they should be doing that you are doing that they're not doing. And you remind them of that. And so even though the mountain that you're climbing is actually a smaller one than the one that you ultimately want to climb, you're actually at the top of their mountain. And so they start tearing you down. So like, that's where the underdog story that we said at the very beginning of this with the quote, which is like, on the way up, they root for you. And then when you're at the top, they try and tear you down because you remind them of the dreams that they couldn't accomplish, right? And so you quitting drinking, or you staying in to work on your side hustle or your project or the business that you want to launch, or the podcast, you might be at the top of their mountain. And so they are tearing you down because now you remind them that they haven't done it. And it's purely a projection of them onto you and has nothing to do with you. And that, I hope that comforts someone. Because what you said, I think, is like, if you're going through that right now, and I promise you, every single person who wants to do something with their life and has done something with their life has gone through the exact chapter that you're going through. And it's the lonely chapter. It's the chapter where you don't fit in with your own friends, but you don't have the outcomes yet to fit into a new group of friends. And you're doing this thing, you're consuming content on the internet, you're doing these free tutorials online to try and figure out how to set up a podcast and where do I host this thing? And then you're going through this and you're like, is this even worth it? Because you have no signs of success, right? But if there's anything that you can take away from what we're saying right now, is that the sign of success is the hate that you get along the way. And what you can't do is bend the knee to their hate and fit back into the conformity because it's comfortable and it's warm. Because like in the Matrix, when Trinity opens the door, when Neo's about to go take the red pill and he wants to get out of the car, she says, Neo, you've been down that road and you know exactly where it leads. And I know that's not where you want to be. And then he closes the door. Like right now, this moment that you're going through is Trinity opening the door and being like, you could go back, but then you'd have to remember exactly what the reason was that you decided not to go out to begin with, just because you listen to this podcast and you consume this content, you're like, I can do more than this. Like, because you are starting to live in some of that hell where you look in the mirror and you're like, I can do more. And you start to see the person that you could be. And you're like, this does start to feel like hell.
The reason that it's uncomfortable and the reason that I do have sympathy for the people that see this is ignorance in some regards is bliss. As soon as you begin to posit an ideal, you then begin to compare yourself to that ideal. Yeah. And the gap in potential between you and the person that you could have been begins to get more stark. And even the slightest glimmer of, wow, I can read a book or follow a course or listen to a podcast and then work really, really hard on one thing and change the thermodynamics of my mind, change the texture of my own existence day to day because I worked at a thing. And now I understand nutrition. You know, I know Kung Fu. Yeah. Like I understand nutrition, or I understand how to sleep well. Okay, as soon as you know that sleep is important and what you need to do it, every single night of bad sleep that you have is on you. Yeah. Because before you had the excuse that you're ignorant. Yeah. And guess what? Now you don't.
Every worthwhile goal is worthwhile because it has a cost associated with it. And so the cost that you're going through is what makes the goal worthwhile to begin with. Because if what we're setting out to do were immediately available to you, then it would mean it would be immediately available to everyone, which means it wouldn't be worthwhile. So the very fact that it's difficult is why it is worth doing. And so like, we can't resent the price tag of the shoes that we want to buy. We just have to make the decision of whether or not we want to pay it.